We're here already. Reached the uh, end of the week and the end of Lamentations. I feel like we just started. Didn't we just start this week with Lamentations? We have a 5-chapter book. I think this is the first time we've gotten the one this short. Anyway, we'll get to this in a second. First off, welcome to the show. My name is Stuart Davis. This is my channel, A Flawed Man of God, one that I have set up in as a place for Christians of different denominations, different traditions, uh, different stripes to gather together and talk about faith, talk about Christianity, talk about our different topics as they relate to us. And in particular, as this current project that we're in, which is where we're reading through the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, a couple of chapters a night. And as we read through it, giving our thoughts and feelings, impressions on what it is that we're reading, right? And I think that one of the beautiful things about this, doing it in order, is just the impression and the context that you get out of it. I think that's a great thing. And so tonight we'll be finishing up Lamentations. Like I said, very short book, and then we can look forward to, let's call it, since it's going to be starting a new book, we won't stream Monday, and instead stream the following Monday after Christmas. We'll start with Ezekiel, right? But tonight, as every night, what's going on, Matthew? Tonight, as with every night, you're welcome to be here. Please enjoy this and view this as a relaxed and informal setting for you to maybe make your opinion be heard, ask some questions, maybe give a testimony if it has something to do with what we're talking about, or maybe it doesn't have anything to do and you just need to get it off your chest, right? You can be a part of this show as well. The chat is here, and we are small enough that I promise you, if you put something in that chat box, I'll read it and react to it. And I think we're all interested in what you have to say. We have a great group of folks that tune in and night out, and we'd love for you to be part of that if you haven't become one of our peoples already. And I want to also preface this. Look, I'm not a professional, right? You tune into this show, you're getting a layperson approach. I've been a Christian all my life, and I can give you my insights and experience on that. But I'm not a pastor, not a biblical scholar. I haven't been to seminary. Okay. This is just one man talking. I'm going to get stuff wrong. I'm going to misinterpret things. And I think part of it, what we need sometimes, is to understand that we are prone to fallibility. And that helps us accept when we could be wrong, right? So, without further ado, we'll get into this show. I don't know if any of you guys are NASCAR fans, but you talk about stuff happening before the holidays, before we celebrate Jesus's birthday. The plane that went down. There was a plane that went down today. It was a private plane owned by Greg Biffle, who was a NASCAR driver. I think he'd retired. Owned by Greg Biffle. He and his family, wife and kids. Obviously, the pilots as well, and maybe somebody else. I don't know. But definitely him and his wife and kids all on the plane. No survivors. It was a private plane, and that is indeed a sad thing. And it was interesting to me because I'd met Greg Biffle one time, and it was just in passing. Like, we didn't have a conversation or anything. but he was one of the first drivers that I met. We did this kind of USO tour, um, where they brought us into the garage at the NASCAR races in Richmond, as part of a National Guard, people just getting home uh, thing, right? Getting home from from Iraq and kind of settling in. And Greg Biffle used to drive for National Guard, right? At the time, he wasn't anymore. Casey Mears was, and so we were actually on our way to meet him, and we're all riding on the cart together. And when we saw him, and he was walking off, and I was like, "Hey, we'd just gotten a shirt. I still got a shirt. The shirt I wear it sometimes on stream, but yeah, I just gotten the shirt. I was like, "Hey, let me go grab an autograph." Go grab the Sharpie. Went up to him, and it's like, "Hey, and I'm in fatigues at the time." Um, I say, "Hey, can you sign an autograph?" And he kind of looked at me funny, and he signed the autograph, and you know, I went my way, and he went his. And I sat down, and the guy driving it, he's in the Army with us, and he's part of the team that does this program wherever they go. But it seems like a great it's a great story. It's a great job to have. You just travel along with in the NASCAR circuit, and you're basically the liaison between NASCAR and the Army, and part of this team that kind of puts this stuff on for folks coming back from overseas. Anyway, so I got back on the cart, and he goes, "Wow, I'm surprised he signed that for you." And I said, "Why'd you say that?" He said, he didn't really have a good relation with the National Guard team when he was driving for them. He said, he just didn't like doing a lot of the events or something like that. And I thought that was odd, right? And he wasn't rude to me at all. Instead, he just looked at me funny. And so I always kind of had a kind of a cool opinion of him. But when the events in Henderson happened, and Asheville, North Carolina, when Helene came through and wrecked that part of North Carolina, a lot of people were remembering the things that he did, and he was like many. It seems like many NASCAR drivers, a pilot, and he had his own helicopter, and he was going in and doing whatever type of relief he could possibly manage. So, that's selflessness, that's service, that's caring for your fellow man. And so, regardless of any opinion some folks might have, that, you never know what else is going on. But what matters is how you act when the chips are down and your people are really in need. How do you treat them? And it seemed like he answered the call in his own way. So it is, I mean, indeed, it's sad anytime, you see a whole family kind of lost like that uh, in the blink of an eye, and they're all gone. We certainly want to pray for the survivors behind that, left in the wake of this, the NASCAR community, and certainly Biffle's family, and other people who end up getting caught up in stuff like that. the It's just sad to see. It's just sad to see. So prayers for the Biffle family, prayers for anybody else who's dealing with certain things in their life. We've had quite a weird amount. What's going on, Nico? Quite a weird amount of events the past this whole month, it seems like. Man stabbed himself in the neck outside the BJ's gas station this week. I don't even know if he survived. He stood out there and did it. Literally 100 yards from there at the Buffalo Wild Wings, there was a shootout. Somebody stabbed another guy in the Buffalo Wild Wings, and then the group of people ran outside and then started shooting at each other. There's been a lot of, just other things that have happened this month There's just been like, man, this is a really trying time. It's it's the dark winters that think it gets to people mentally. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. You know, decorate your stuff for Christmas, right? Not only does it brighten the environment around you, but it also helps you remember what's important. Even more important than the family, even more important uh, than gathering together, even more important than the food and the candy, the desserts. The most important thing is the arrival of Christ. And you know, we're in this dark period that we've been discussing for Israel, for Judah, and this dark part of the Old Testament. It's a reminder of all this stuff that we've read up to this point, from David and Solomon, Isaiah, Jeremiah, the prophecies that we've been through, and we've been in Lamentations, them crying out, wanting, salvation, wanting redemption, wanting mercy from God, and what the ultimate act of sacrifice and mercy, the birth of Christ, is the beginning of that, that example, right? When he shows up here to say, hey guys, I'm here to show you how it's done. I'm here to be the sacrificial lamb that none of y'all could be. I'm here to fix things. I'm here to bring salvation to everyone. Not just a chosen tribe, but all those who have faith and desire to know me better. So Christmas is my favorite time of year. I do think Easter's a more important because of just what it represents, but it's a lot of that. Easter has much bigger mixed feelings with it. It's just like, oh my gosh, we have, defeating death and the resurrection on Sunday, and then but the pain and that it had to happen in the first place, and what Christ had to endure on Good Friday. There's a lot of emotions, right? And so you're a little conflicted, but in the end, joyous, right? Christmas, it's a little bit easier, right? It's a baby, it's a birthday, it's a celebration, right? And it is in a dark time, the darkest time of the year, and it's nice to have something as a reminder of what the light of what light will bring to us, right? So this is probably going to be a pretty short stream, unless we get into some big or heavy conversation or topic that we're discussing. But I'm glad to see you, Matt. I'm glad to see you, Nico. This last stream before Christmas, and before we even get into the reading, Merry Christmas, YouTube. Merry Christmas to you guys who are in the who are listening and watching along, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube. I greatly appreciate your company. I greatly appreciate y'all's participation in whatever fashion that you take here, and I'm glad that we can experience this journey together. All right. So, getting all that mushy stuff out of the way, let's get into Lamentations. Now, we've been reading through Lamentations, a very short book, and like I said, I think this has been our shortest book so far. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, those are obviously longer. Judges, Ruth was shorter chapter-wise, but I think that there was more. Maybe there was more content in it. It was longer. Maybe not. Maybe Ruth was the shortest so far. It's been a long time. Obviously, the Samuel King Chronicles, those were long. Ezra was short-ish. Nehemiah short-ish. Esther short-ish. Job was long. Psalm, Psalm. We were in Psalm and Proverbs. From Psalms to Jeremiah, we have been between these three or these what 6 books since. Let's see. I want to say it's been 2 years we've been in between these because we've been in Isaiah since Isaiah and Jeremiah since April. And Proverbs and Psalms took a long time to get through. Let's see. All right, we started Psalm in October of 2023. So it's been over 2 years we've been going through this. 2 years. And it's been a lot. It's been a lot to go through, obviously. A lot of content. And look, I haven't been the most disciplined of streamers, but I feel like I'm doing all right. I'm hoping, I'm thinking by this time next year, we'll probably be. What would be cool is the timing is next year around this time, maybe in December, we're in the Gospels. See how, because we're getting into some small. So we're in Lamentations short. Ezekiel, right, longish. Daniel doesn't last long, but we got a lot to talk about. Hosea is going to be a lot to talk about. Joel and all these guys are going to be short. Like Obadiah, one chapter. Jonah, we'll spend some time there. Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk. I mean, these are all like less than 5 chapters each. Zechariah lasts a little bit, and then Malachi is another short one. So, yeah, I can easily see us being either in the Gospels or maybe past the Gospels by this year, because we have gotten through the biggest chunk of the biggest chunk of the Bible. In fact, if I pull out my old trusty War Bible, and we go by, let's call it, we'll be in a Revelation for a while, I'm sure. So that's the dictionary, Bible verses. So the last page here in my Bible that I've taken all over the globe, 1424 pages. And in the end of Jeremiah, the end of Lamentations, 933. So we are well past halfway. Well past halfway. So it'll be interesting to see. This project has been going on. How long have we been doing this? 2021? Maybe the beginning of 2022? Let's go all the way back to the beginning. Could I do that? Let's see. Wish they had to go. Oh, why don't I just do it this way? Flawed Man's taking the Bible in November of 2021. No, it wasn't 2020. It wasn't 2020. Excellent. let's not get ahead of ourselves, right? We're looking to the future. We need to pay attention to the right now. This is not a stream of prophecy. This is a stream of going through things. Let's not look ahead. Let's look at the word we're talking about right now. Matt Felty said, "I got wonderful news. In a family health situation today. Answered prayers. Excellent, sir. I'm glad. I'm glad to see that. But you're not anymore, right, Nico? You're not godless anymore, sir." The cool thing is, I guess, Nico, is if you go back to some of those early streams and you think about what part of the Bible really started to get you more and more into it, you can actually watch yourself in the comments. That might be pretty cool. All right. I'm digressing too much. Let's get into the show. A prayer for mercy. O Lord, remember what has come upon us. Look and see our reproach, national disgrace. Our inheritance has been turned over to strangers, our houses to foreigners. We have become orphans without a father. Our mothers are like widows. We have to pay for our drinking water. Our wood comes to us at a price. Our pursuers are at our necks. We are worn out. There is no rest for us. We have given the hand as a pledge of fidelity and submission to Egypt and Assyria to get enough bread. Our fathers sinned and are no more. It is we who have carried their sin. Servants rule over us. There is no one to rescue us out of their hand. We get our bread at the risk of our lives because of the sword of the Arabs in the wilderness who may attack if we go out to harvest the crop. Our skin is as hot as the heat of an oven because of the burning heat of the fever of famine. They have ravished the women in Zion, the virgins in the city of Judah. Princes were hung by their hands, elders were not respected. Young men worked at the grinding mill, and boys fell staggering under loads of wood. Elders are gone from the gate, young men from their music. The joy of our hearts has ended. Our dancing has been turned into mourning. The crown has fallen from our head. Our honor is covered with dust. Woe to us, for we have sinned. Because of this, our heart is faint. Because of these things, our eyes are dim. As for Mount Zion, which lies desolate, foxes and the jackals prowl over it. But you, O Lord, reign forever. Your throne endures from generation to all generations. Why do you forget us forever? Why do you forsake us so long? Return to us, you, O Lord, so that we may be restored. Renew our days as of old, unless you have utterly rejected us and are exceedingly angry with us. I like the footnote here because I was thinking about it at the same time. 5:7, when it says, our fathers sinned and are no more, it is we who have carried their sin. The footnote here says, both forefathers and sons were responsible for the disaster that had come on Jerusalem. This generation was equally deserving of punishment. And yes, the forefathers had angered God and had kind of set things in motion, but God gave them every opportunity for him to stay his hand. But they didn't change their ways. They didn't stop sinning. They continued the behavior. And thus, all this stuff happened. And we're going to go through it kind of like we did last night. They're a national disgrace. Israel and Judah are a laughingstock. The promised land is being ransacked by foreigners, right? Their houses, they're being looted, maybe there's some squatters in there. Orphans, we become orphans without a father. That's talking about, these are children that God has turned his back on them. Of course, that didn't happen first. The first thing that happened was they turned their back on God. Mothers are like widows. We have to pay for our drinking water, and wood comes to us at a price. People are taking advantage of them. Oh, you were taking advantage of other people. They were taking advantage of the poor. They were taking advantage of the orphans. They were taking advantage of the widows. They weren't taking care of anybody. Everybody was looking out for themselves. So now they have to do that as a society. Pursuers are at our necks. We are given hand. They have to pledge fidelity to Egypt and Assyria just to get any type of assistance. And who's to blame? They are. They being the Israelites, they being Judeans, the Hebrews in general. They're worried about getting bread because there are bandits, there are looters, there are thieves out there ready to assail them. There's famine. The women have been raped in Zion and Judah. Their leaders hung, elders disgraced and humiliated. Their young men and boys worked to exhaustion. And it says there's just nothing to be happy for. And yeah, I mean, given the current situation, it probably is very difficult for them to find any joy or any hope. And the crown has fallen up from their head. Yeah, they're conquered, right? They were a very well respected, a very well off society and nation, and now they're not. Now they're dealing with all the stuff we've just talked about. Heart is faint, eyes are dim. Mount Zion is desolate. And then in the end, it's talking about you are still great, God, and you will be the God forever and ever. And so they plead for mercy. Don't forget us. Why are you taking so long to bring things back? They want to be restored, and he wants them to stop being angry with them. Now, I'd be interested to see when this was written, because if this was before they asked to go to Egypt, I would say, well, why don't y'all try listening to God? Heck, if this was written after, when they were on their way to Egypt, why don't you turn around and go do what God told you to do? Through the prophet Jeremiah, who's been trying to warn y'all all the time. Why don't you stop doing what you want to do and do what you're supposed to do instead? You know, I have pity on them to a degree, but at the same time, it's like, it doesn't, I get you're upset and you're not in a great place, but have you learned your lesson? Are you blaming your fathers, or you need to blame yourself? Do you understand what's taking God so long? Well, be patient. Part of the problem is y'all don't want to wait for God to do what he says he's going to do. You want to go do your own thing. So the lament is there, but I feel like the lesson hasn't been learned. Not by this person, at least, but also I don't know exactly when this was written. And Nico says, didn't the early generation avoid the consequences in this world because they died before this, if they are equally sinful? Don't know. Now, this is the worst beating that the Hebrews had received at this point. But they had been conquered before. They had lost battles. They had been put under rule from foreigners before. I mean, if you remember when we were going through Judges, I mean, that was happening on a pretty regular basis. And so, and there were punishments that came down, like when David did the census, right? But this had been put off by actions like Josiah and his generation trying to do things better. And then the next generation, almost like judges, right? It's almost like this is almost like what goes around, what's old is new again. Uh, and, the cycle continues, right? Any Wheel of Time fans here? It's almost like the cycle continues. Like you're never going to learn your lesson really. And that just seems to be us in general as humans. We seem to have a problem learning from our mistakes as a group. Remember what I was saying last night? People are stupid. Person is smart. People are stupid. And that's very much the case. So, I just, like I said, I'm interested at the context of when this was written and by whom, because it's like, are you mad? Are you mad that this was necessary to happen? Are you upset and remorseful and downtrodden because you disappointed God so badly that this had to happen? Or are you mad that it just because it happened? Are you upset because somebody else did bad thing and you got punished for it? Because like I said, right after this, they're given another opportunity to be put back on the path to restoration. Don't go to Egypt. What did they do? They went to Egypt. So, and he said, "You are unless you have utterly rejected us and are exceedingly angry with us." Yes, he is exceedingly angry. Do you think he is not angry and also sad if the rape and murder of the citizens of Jerusalem was necessary? Of course God's upset with you. He's been telling you that for hundreds of years. So, yeah, maybe boomers got away with it, but there's always justice, right? But if forgiveness is extended to you, even though you had to go through those horrors in the world, would you not extend it to others? Yeah, that's the great. This is the. I mean, let's ask Jeremiah to go talk to God. No, Jeremiah, we don't believe you. We didn't want to. They thought that they were going to get what they wanted. Maybe they thought Jeremiah wanted to go to Egypt too and would just go through it. Maybe they thought that was, because they thought it was a good idea, that God was also going to think it was a good idea. Maybe they thought it was just such a foregone conclusion that they were going to go to Egypt. Maybe they thought that was going to be like some sort of closing loop, that God led them out of Israel or out of Egypt, and then he would lead them back to Egypt. I don't know. For whatever reason, I'm sure they got it in their own minds that's what they were going to do. So when God said, "No, stay here, dummy," still the promised land, they said, "No, we want to go back to Egypt." Well, guess what? They're not the first to do that, because when God was when Moses, or God had Moses lead the people out of Egypt, they were still going, "Oh, we had things so much better in Egypt when we were slaves and we were second-class citizens. This is awful. God saved us so he can bring us out here to die." Happens. It still happens. And you don't know really what they're thinking. You try to think. I mean, I'm trying to think through this, and I'm trying to use some humility here. But when I'm sitting there thinking to myself, man, if everything Jeremiah said so far had come true, and I hadn't listened, and I had survived up to this point, I daggone well would start listening now. Said the end is not coming. No, God won't forsake us. God's definitely forsaken us. All right, Jeremiah was the only one saying that. Let's listen into him. But maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I would just be pig-headed. I just gotta I gotta count my blessings here that I was raised in the church. Gotta count my blessings. And since we're getting ready to celebrate the greatest blessing of all time, which is our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, I'm going to close things out. So this is the end of Lamentations. We will start Ezekiel on the other side of Christmas. Let's talk a little bit about Ezekiel since we're still. Maybe we got somebody who does a good intro to the book of Ezekiel. No, not you. Not you. Not you. I do like reading the breakdowns from the Conference of Catholic Bishops, the U.S. conference, because I just think they just do a really good job talking about it and bringing it down. It's a very scholarly approach. So this is from the USCCB, the book of Ezekiel. In response to the rebellion of Jehoiakim of Judah in 601 BC, Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian ruler, besieged Jerusalem. When Jehoiakim's successor Jehoiachin surrendered in 597, didn't take long. Nebuchadnezzar appointed Zedekiah king and appointed Zedekiah king and deported to Babylon. Oh, wait. Nebuchadnezzar appointed Zedekiah king and deported to Babylon Jehoiachin and the royal family, along with members of the upper class, including Ezekiel the priest. There we go. 5 years later, as Zedekiah planned his own revolt against Babylon, smart move, buddy, Ezekiel became the first prophet to be commissioned outside Judah or Israel. Before Jerusalem is destroyed in 587 BC, Ezekiel is concerned to convince his audience that they are responsible for the punishment of exile and to justify the Lord's decision to destroy their city and temple. Later, Ezekiel argues that the Judahites who embraced his preaching are the people whom the Lord has chosen as a new Israel, enlivened by a new heart, imbued with new breath, and restored to recreate land, temple, and covenant relationships. Ezekiel is clear on one point. The Lord punishes and restores for one reason, for the sake of his name, in order to demonstrate once and for all that he is Lord. Ezekiel's symbolic actions or performances foreshadow the inevitable destruction of Jerusalem. The closely related judgment oracles are directed against increasingly larger groups, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, refugees who have fled into the mountains, Judah's total population, the four corners of the land. Particularly chilling is Ezekiel 8 through 11, the prophet's vision of the violent injustice and idolatrous worship that fills Jerusalem. When Ezekiel protests the Lord's order to slaughter Jerusalem's wicked inhabitants, the Lord refuses to relent. The Lord's glory leaves the temple, affirming his judgment on Jerusalem, whom Ezekiel portrays as a promiscuous woman, rebel from the beginning, more violent and sinful than Sodom, appeals for a speedy end to the exile on the basis of a past relationship with the Lord or of Jerusalem's privileged status or futile gestures, not jesters. That's interesting. I love I love that we're going to get that perspective here. I actually haven't read much in Ezekiel. Ezekiel uses stereotypic oracles. Like I've read through it, but I didn't really ponder it that much. Ezekiel uses stereotypic oracles against the nations to claim universal sovereignty for Israel's God, to exemplify the consequences of arrogant national pride, and to set the stage for Israel's restoration, in order to demonstrate to all the nations that I am the Lord. God becomes Israel's just shepherd, under whose rule a restored people. They enjoy prosperity in a restored land. God again acts for the sake of my name. When the mysterious forces of Gog attack Israel, their defeat is the prelude to Ezekiel's vision of a new Israel whose source of life and prosperity is a well-ordered cult in a new temple where the divine glory again dwells And there you have it. So we're going to see things kind of around the time of Jeremiah, but from a little bit different perspective and from somebody who'd already been carried away. So that's going to be pretty good. All right. So to wrap up, Nico, Matt Felty, guys who are listening, like I said, this is a great time of the year. It's a great time to gather with family. If you've got family, if you're feeling lonely, if you're feeling alone, because this is a time that was often attributed with gathering, with loved ones. Maybe you have estranged family. Maybe you don't have many or any close friends. Maybe this is a time where you feel alone. Remember what Christmas is. Remember who came to the earth. Remember why we celebrate Christmas. Whether the date is right or wrong, we have marked Jesus' birth as a time for celebration. And that you are not alone. That you have him if you let him into your heart. That you have him if you have faith in him. You have him if you accept following him. He is there. All you got to do is open up. All you got to do is let him in. And you'd be surprised how comforting that is. And if you're with family, if you're with friends, don't forget the reason. Hopefully you're all gathering and you're all giving thanks to God for giving us, for sending Christ. He's the reason. He's the reason for the season. He's the reason we have forgiveness to look forward to. He's the reason that we've been given this opportunity of redemption. So, all of you, regardless of whether you are one of many celebrating in your household or one of few, be safe. All right? Be safe. Take care. Have fun. Celebrate. Relax. Go to church. And don't take off Sunday just because you went to church on Christmas Eve service. Go to church on Sunday. Go to church this Sunday. Go to church next Sunday. Pray and give thanks to the Lord. And I'll see you all you guys on the 29th as we look towards the new year in 2026. Everybody have a good night and God bless.